Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Hearthstone's Rise of Shadows reveal season is now at full swing, as today we had the official Blizzard reveal stream in which they revealed 12 new cards from the expansion and showed the first signs of gameplay. And oh boy, the stuff that they showed, it's just going to change Hearthstone forever. Here are all the 12 cards that we got to see. We got to see the perspective of 3 decks. There was a warrior deck that was based on bombs, a bomb warrior deck. Then there was a rogue deck built around Heistbaron Togwaggle, the new rogue legendary. And then there was a mage deck built around Khadgar. I'm going to take a detailed look at each of these 12 cards, and this is some awesome stuff. And also lots of legendaries too. Blastmaster Boom, Heistbaron Togwaggle, Khadgar. This is it. Starting off with the most mundane part though. Dr. Boom's Scheme. Another scheme card. A warrior spell, 4 mana, gain 1 armor, upgrades each turn. This is a pretty bad card, to be honest. This is only useful in very, very long control games. It takes ages, it gains 1 armor per tick. So compare that to Shield Block. 3 mana, gain 5 armor, draw a card. So I don't believe in this card. I mean, obviously, if there's a real control meta, where games go very, very long, and you just want to gain tons of health at some point, sure, this is a playable card in that kind of meta. But in any kind of sane meta game, yeah, that was going to suck. However, this little fellow, the Clockwork Goblin, a 3 mana 3/3 mech, with a battle cry, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. When drawn, it explodes for 5 damage. So this is the exact same effect as the already existing Heistbaron Bomber, which is a 5 mana 5/5 with the same battle cry, but it's not a mech. It's a neutral card. And Heistbaron Bomber is also going to stay in standard after the rotation, so both of these will be available at the same time. Both of them shuffle identical bombs in the deck. The bomb is a 5 mana spell, theoretically a 5 mana spell. You never actually pay that 5 mana, because it's cast when drawn and you take 5 damage. And Bomb Warrior is just going to put a lot of bombs into the opponent's deck. They can use stuff like Augmented Elec, another card that is going to stay after the standard rotation. Whenever you shuffle a card into a deck, shuffle in an extra copy. So Elec with Goblin, shuffle 2 bombs. And also because Clockwork Goblin is a mech, and it's a warrior class mech, that means there's a pretty good chance to discover it from Dr. Boom, Mad Genius. Which means that, okay, you can build a bomb warrior deck, and you can use this natively in the deck, or you can just play some kind of control warrior, you can play Boom in it. If the situation is appropriate, you can use Boom's Discover to pick up some of these Clockwork Goblins for you, and use them in some of the long games. So it can be a great card in the deck, and it can also be a great card when discovered. And the bomb theme doesn't end there. Wrench Caliber, a warrior epic weapon. 4 mana 3/2 weapon, so that's pretty bad stat line of course for the cost, but it's not absolutely disastrous, especially when the effect is after your hero attacks, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck. For a 4 mana weapon, 3 attack, it can still kill a bunch of minions. Potentially useful, and shuffling these bombs once again. So now you already have the ability to shuffle a lot of bombs between the Clockwork, between the Heistbaron Bomber, between the Wrench Calibers. You can put like 10 bombs in your opponent's deck or something. That's just crazy stuff, the potential to shuffle so much. So then the question becomes really, okay, how do you counter this? And actually, Warlock has an answer in the new expansion, which Archvillain Rafam. Battlecry, replace your hand and deck with legendary minions. So Warlock is able to reset the situation, say that okay, let's take all those bombs out of there. Not much else can be done about them. They are 5 mana spells, so you cannot remove them with something like Prince Liam in Paladin. King Togwaggle is rotating out, you can't just hand them back over to the warrior. Yeah, that can get really scary if game goes long. And it can get really scary if you're rogue, because one of the best rogue cards is Myra's Unstable Element. Draw the rest of your deck. Well, if you draw the rest of your deck, and your deck has some bombs in it, well, that can get scary. Unless you go really next level, and you first fill your hand, and then you draw the rest of your deck. So then, well, you will always have at least 1 spot left in the hand, but once you draw some cards and your hand is full, then the rest of the bombs, when they're drawn, they are just going to whiff. There's some potential for some next level plays around these bombs, really. But overall, avoiding them looks pretty difficult, and then if there are enough of those coming, then you kind of start to want armor to survive. Ouch. And finally, the Bomb Warrior is not just going to wait for fatigue patiently, because they also have Blastmaster Boom. 7 mana 7/7, Battlecry, summon 2 1/1 boom bots for each bomb in your opponent's deck. So this is a throwback card to Dr. Boom, the original Goblin vs. Gnomes card. 7 mana 7/7, Battlecry, summon 2 1/1 boom bots. And boom bots, if you don't remember what they are these 1 mana 1/1 minions with death rattle to deal 1 to 4 damage to a random enemy. And that's a random enemy, not the random enemy minion, not the hero. It can go either way. So let's say you have 3 of these bombs in the opponent's deck, you play Blastmaster Boom on an empty board, you get 6 boom bots. Then you can like whirlwind them or something. 6 times 1 to 4 damage to a random enemy. Yeah, that's really scary stuff right there. So Bomb Warrior got a ton of support. It's kind of a forced archetype really, because they just printed so many cards that you kind of have to play it. But we'll see. Sometimes forced archetypes can be fun. I'm a little bit skeptical always about those, when you just print too much stuff for some deck that you clearly show that okay, you want to play this deck. You can't play these cards separately, you have to put them together, because no one would play these separately. They have to be in the same deck. And yeah, that's a little bit, but we'll see. That's definitely going to be one of the decks in the early games of the new expansion. We also got to see a new neutral lackey generator, Evil Cable Rat, a 2 mana 1/1 beast with a battlecry to add a lackey to your hand. So there are 5 lackeys and you get 1 at random. I've also showcased lackeys here. There's the Discover one, then there's the Summon 2 Ghost Minion, +1 attack and rush, deal 2 damage, or the Evolve effect. Overall, Evil Cable Rat seems pretty terrible. 2 mana for a 1/1 with the battle cry, and the lackey comes to your hand, so it doesn't even give you tempo because you have to use another mana to use that lackey. Of course, the lackey is worth like 2 mana at least, so lackeys are really good for their mana cost, but still this is a very lackluster minion that will not see play unless there's some deck that really needs lots of lackeys and doesn't have other means to generate them. Compared to this one, the Evil Miscreant, which I also didn't like very much, starts to look like a good card. And this one is a big one. Henge Clan Burglar. If it belongs to Henge Clan, you don't mess with the Henge Clan. Henge Clan Burglar, a 4 mana 4/3 rogue class minion. It's a pirate, and it has a battle cry to discover a spell from another class. The developers said on stream that they are moving away from the effect of discovering or adding something from your opponent's class, like cards such as Blinkfox used to have. Add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class, and they are moving away from that and into discover or add something random from another class. And from another class means that it can be from any class. In this discover effect, for example, it can give you spells from any class, and all those discover options are not from the same class either. You can discover like a hunter card, a warrior card, and a mage card. You can have a choice between those 3. But the developers also said that they are not retroactively changing the old cards. The old cards will remain as they are. But all of this has major implications for Thief Rogue, because Thief Rogue used to be pretty terrible in the mirror matchup. You had no way to generate any cards that are not rogue cards, but now suddenly you have, because you're getting cards from another class and you're not getting cards from your opponent's class anymore. So the viability of Thief Rogue is suddenly going up a lot, but because the old cards are not going to be changed, then it depends on how many of these new effects you can weave in. Henge Clan Burglar, for example, is incredibly powerful, because now suddenly you can also go into Rogue Mirrors, and you can go into Rogue Mirrors where you can play Tess Greymane, Rogue Mirrors where you can play Spectral Cutlass, and you can even use Raiding Party to tutor Spectral Cutlass and Henge Clan Burglar, so you can tutor the weapon that benefits from having played cards from other classes, and you can tutor a card that gives you cards from other classes. That's really awesome. And also this change will change the way Thief Rogue plays in lots of matchups too, because previously, for example, let's say you were playing Hunter against Thief Rogue. Thief Rogue got some random cards, but you knew that they are not going to get healing. You don't have any class healing as a Hunter. so they will not get any. Now, when they're discovering stuff or getting random stuff from random class, they just might start getting priest cards against you. So this change is a major buff to the Thief Rogue archetype. But we'll need the full set to see just how many of these cards there are, and the old ones are not changed, so where the balance is going to end up. But even if this is not enough to make Thief Rogue good in Rise of Shadows, then think about Thief Rogue 1 or 2 more expansions down the line, when the cards from last year are still in standard format. This is a big deal. This might be an even bigger deal though. Heistbaron Togwaggle. A rogue class legendary 6 mana 5/5 minion with a battle cry. If you control a lackey, choose a fantastic treasure. Okay, so first you need to generate lackeys, and all the lackey generators so far are really bad. But alright, we'll see what comes up and what we can use. But then, choose a fantastic treasure. And that choice, it is a discover type effect from 4 options, and the 4 options are all of the treasures from Marrying the Fox. Yeah, no need to break some kind of treasure chest and then loot the treasure. Just play the Togwaggle and grab the treasure that you need. And it's a discover, so you get exactly the treasure that you want out of these 4. And it's in rogue, so you can just prep out that treasure immediately. Unless it's a golden kobold, which is a minion. You can't prep a minion, but this is some crazy stuff. Even though you have to put up with lackey generators, which are bad, then this has the potential to really do crazy things. Another old mechanic revived. We got the new rogue class spell, 6 mana unidentified contract. So unidentified contract, it always destroys a minion, and then it gains a bonus effect in your hand. So when you draw it, it actually morphs into one of 4 different contracts. Each of them destroys a minion, and then they do one of the following. Either they deal the minions damage to adjacent minions, so Assassinate and Betrayal in 1, or summon a 1/1 Patient Assassin with Poisonous and Stealth, or add 2 coins to your hand, or add a copy of the destroyed minion to your hand. And with Wildspine Slayer departing the standard format, this having pretty sweet effects, then yeah, this looks like quite sweet hard removal tool for rogue. We also got a little bit of neutral healing. 4 mana 3/2 Divine Shield, Battlecry restore 3 health, Traveling Healer. So Shroom Brewer is rotating out of standard now. Shroom Brewer used to be used in a bunch of decks, mostly even Warlock, but whenever there was a deck that needed some kind of neutral healing, then Shroom Brewer was the choice. The choice before Shroom Brewer used to be Earthering Farseer, which is a classic card, 3 mana 3/3 Battlecry restore 3 health. Traveling Healer costs 1 more mana, restores the same amount of health as Farseer, but has Divine Shield at the expense of 1 health. So that Divine Shield actually makes the Traveling Healer pretty formidable on board. And if you have a deck that needs some additional healing effects, Warlock might need some, maybe Mage might need some, or maybe something like a Heal Paladin would be interested in these kinds of effects to get their Zandalari Templars online. And Paladin might have a lot of uses for the Divine Shield as well, because that could be a buff target and interesting card. There will always be some decks that want neutral healing cards, and Traveling Healer looks pretty good for that purpose. The new Mage legendary minion is none other than Khadgar. 2 mana 2/2, your cards that summon minions summon twice as many. That's a pretty sweet effect. Zola the Gorgon is rotating out. Currently, some of these control mage decks that have these summon effects have been using Zola the Gorgon so that they can play that summon effect twice. Well, Zola is going away, but Khadgar is a direct replacement for that for Mage. Khadgar into Jan'alai. Summon 2 copies of Ragnaros. Khadgar into Astromancer. Summon 2 random minions. Mage has a bunch of these summon effects right now, and Khadgar can be really useful with all of them. Very, very powerful card. It is especially good because it costs so little, so you can easily combine it with the summon effects on the same turn. And speaking of Mage and summon effects, Mage is getting a new spell, an 8-cost spell, Power of Creation. Discover a 6-cost minion, summon 2 copies of it. Or if you play this with Khadgar, you can just summon 4 copies of it. So that sounds like a ton of value. However, there is a bit of a downside to Power of Creation, because the Discover pool works in such a way that class cards are weighted. So class cards are more likely to be offered than other cards. And when you take a look at 6 mana cards for Mage, you find a pair of 3/3s and a 5/5. You're quite likely to be offered stuff like Arcanosaur. Well, 8 mana to summon 2 3/3s really does not cut it. Then when you go to neutrals, of course, there's a lot more powerful minions, like damage Stegotrons. That would be one of the ultimate high rolls. 8 mana, summon 2 5/12 taunts. Well, that sounds a whole lot better. On average, 6 mana cards are pretty good. And Discover is typically an effect that gives you so much more results than random, because you're just getting cherry-picked results. But the fact that this is a Mage card, and Mage 6-drop pool is terrible, that means that at least some of that Discover pool is going to be, most of the time, Mage cards, and that weakens the Power of Creation. Still an interesting card, but if it was in any other class than Mage, it would just be better. Finally, one more card that was revealed today. It's the Messenger Raven. Mage minion 3 mana 3/2 beast with a battle cry to discover a Mage minion. And now you get to discover from the whole pool of Mage minions, and that means that stuff like Jan'alai, stuff like Astromancer, now they are being offered lots of good minions. Also lots of minions with battle cries, or you can like discover another copy of Khadgar for yourself. This one is a very high value card. Also, if you're playing a Mage deck that wants to keep its hand size pretty high, for example in order to use stuff like Astromancer, then this allows you to play a minion pretty early in the game and keep your hand size the same. So that is it for the reveal stream cards. 12 new cards from the expansion. That's a lot to think about. There's the Bomb Warrior archetype, the power of Heistbaron Togwaggle, that's incredible, Hengeclamp really reviving Thief Rogue potentially, and Mage getting these summon and minion synergies taken even further. That's a lot to take in, but for sure this expansion looks to shape up to be a very powerful one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.